Tippy time my damies, Topcat here and welcome back to the channel. Today's build on our Solar Titan is a frontline melee based build. We will be using glaives and swords, baby hammer, a couple of different damage buffs to give us consistent high damage numbers, whether you're just getting orange bars or boss damage, along with a couple of recovery mods to keep us nice and safe when we are directly in their face, just stabbing, running and gunning. I've aptly named this build Sticks If Stones, as this is a high risk, high reward build. It is primarily focused around the Lament, with the intrinsic trait Banshee's Wail to do optimum DPS. We pair these with the exotic Stronghold gauntlets. Armor perks, Clenched Fist, maximizes guard stats on equipped swords and blocks shots immediately after guarding will heal you. You thought the glaives defenses are strong. The Strongholds is essentially invincible. You could literally stand in front of a raid boss and just permanently block and he won't be able to kill you. This is great when it comes to trying to close the gap on your foe. Like in this case here, he's trying to run away. No, not a chance. I'll catch up to you and you cannot harm me at all. It's very, very strong, stronger than the glaive defenses. So it's good running this in conjunction. You see there, he tried to melee me and it actually just healed me. This combination will give you the cojones to run at any yellow bar, major, boss, dungeon or raid alike. Is truly strong and an awful lot of fun. This sword is already one of the best, highest damaging in the game. It's also great for ammo economy. So we're going to lean right into it. On our mods, we're going to be using a supercharge to get additional stacks of light, unquenchable thirst. This is going to increase our soul drinker origin trait, and we're going to have a glaive ammo finder. Font of Might for additional weapon damage on our solar weapons. We have 2, and Unstoppable Glaive mod. If you're not fighting champs, you could swap this out. A Well of Life mod for additional healing, melee damage resistance as we are getting nice and close with our swords, and Armor of Dying Star for both reduced damage on solar and void. There's a lot of that in the new dungeon, so I'd highly recommend this mod. Lucent Blade. This is going to increase our damage for our sword, and it also gives it a greater recharge rate. Sword Scavenger. With the Lucent Blade mod, it takes the Lament from S tier to S plus tier. You can drop out some seriously strong damage with this thing. Throw a baby hammer at him, get that radiant buff, and just go to town on him. He really doesn't stand much of a chance. And on our class item, we're running Bomber, Elemental Charge, and the new mod Flame Harvesting. Solar Exotic Final Blows grant Solar Wells. This may cost 5 and might seem a little bit expensive, but essentially you only need 2 kills with the solar weapon in order to get a well to drop. This is a lot better than the regular Elemental Armament mod, because they can take up to 10, and that way with this I just know whack 2 things with Lament and get a solar well, and thus buffing the Lament further with Font of Might. So it just kind of like loops itself really nicely, so you can just run around with the sword and just neck things down, having that Font of Might buff pretty consistently. The Elemental Charge, make sure that you got 2 charges of light though, so you want to make sure that you lay off the Lament before going into a damage phase with said boss. That way you still got 1 stack of charge with light. That will make your Lucent Blade work on that first one. That way you can just DPS them down using that buff over the Font of Might. Galaround dead. For the super, I've been using Hammer of Soul, but you can of course use Burning Maul if you want. But I've just been finding the Soul working a little bit better for me and the playstyle of this. I like its utility of Sunspot placement. You know, the Burning Maul kind of takes that out of your hands. So I like that control. We're pairing this with Ember Combustion. Final blows with your solar super cause targets to ignite. Ember Torches powered melee attacks against combatants make you and allies radiant. Tempering. This is going to grant us increased recovery on solar weapon final blows. and Ember of Solace, Radiant and Restoration effects last longer. I've been using the Healing Grenade for this build. Feel free to use a damage one if you want, but I quite like it as we are nice and close to things, and sometimes it's nice to get that get out of jail free card, heal yourself fully, and get straight back into it. The Baby Hammer also has cure effect to it, so that's also great. Really barricade of choice. Soul Invictus, of course, is going to give us those sunspots that we crave so much. That also is going to grant us restoration. These sunspots can be created both from our Baby Hammer and from our super. Chuck and Roaring Flames for the mix, and now we are truly cooking with fire. But this build isn't purely about running around with the Lament, just sorting things. It's called Sticks If Stones because we're also running around using double special with our glaive and our blinding grenade launcher. Now normally I don't really like double special builds, but I find the glaive is kind of a special beast, being that it's a stick that has high DPS. Essentially its melee attack is infinite ammo like any primary ammo would be, so you're not having to worry about the ammo economy as much when you're running a glaive. The GL is meant for crowd control. Whenever you get into the thick of it, you just whip out your GL, blind something, and then you're back to business. Feel free to reuse whatever glaive and blinding GL you want. I'm using a Lubere's Ruin and a Pardon Our Dust. I hope by this point in the video you can see how strong the build actually is, but not just that, see how fun it is. You're not laying down on a trigger with your SMGs and stuff like that. You're literally running around with sticks, just beating the shit out of things. You know, you've got your blinding GL, but you're not laying down the trigger on it, if you know what I mean. It's kind of just a wham bam, thank you ma'am, and back to beating things with sticks, whether it's your glaive or your Lament. I'm honestly having an awful lot of fun with this build. It's great for dungeons. I've used it for the new dungeon, of course, Duality, Grasp of Avarice, the Shattered Throne. It's a lot of fun, and I would highly recommend that you give this a go. Anyway, my damies, that is the build for today. Hope you liked it. Hope you smashed that sub if you are new. Feel free to comment down below if you have any opinions or questions. And as always, tippy tie, my damies. What a tie. Bottom of everything, he's the most tip top.